Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a little different. We are cutting straight to the essential knowledge, but our source material is pretty unusual.
Right.
We're not looking at a finished study. We're not even looking at a historical document. We are analyzing the technical production requirements for cinematic briefing.
Set of instructions, essentially.
Exactly. And the topic is, it's fundamental, how Earth's gravity and magnetic field protect us from the sun.
Hmm.
So we have this stack of production notes, and our mission here is to figure out what the creators were told to include. By doing that, you can sort of distill the absolute non-negotiable concepts of Earth's defense.
That's right. Our challenge is treating these production notes as a roadmap of prioritized knowledge. We're asking, if you only had, say, 60 seconds to explain planetary defense, what are the scientific truths you absolutely must deliver?
So we're analyzing the core scientific method that's dictated by the format itself.
Precisely.
And the constraints here are, well, they're severe. The title alone gives us the two key elements, Earth's gravity and Earth's magnetic field.
And they're listed as co-equal components, which is fascinating.
It is.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the required speed, the visual intensity, it forces the producers to be ruthless. They have to prioritize. They can't dwell on complex
No
physics.
time for that.
None. They have to deliver these high-impact conceptual elements, and they have to do it immediately. Everything that makes the final briefing cinematic and fast-paced is a direct reflection of them being told to cut any detail that isn't absolutely critical.
Which means the format itself gives us our first major insight into the learning goal.
Yeah.
Okay, so the source material clearly mandates this video be delivered as a YouTube Shorts style presentation. It even references the 16.9 or 9.16 aspect ratios.
So it's meant for quick consumption on your phone, probably.
Right. This isn't just a casual explainer. It's an instructional document for something to be consumed on the fly. Rapid cuts, immediate visual punch.
And that matters so much because these aren't just suggestions. They're instructions.
They are.
The source requires the creators to follow a script exactly. It has to be synchronized precisely with cinematic music, with rapid transitions.
That level of precision.
Yeah,
It tells us something about the target audience, doesn't it?
it does. It tells us that you, the curious learner, are looking for knowledge that's both efficient and authoritative. The moment they prioritize that speed and that synchronization, they are forcing the science to be boiled down to its most basic, most memorable elements.
So we know the medium is shaping the message, but what about the non-negotiable science? The instructions are clear that while speed is important, you can't sacrifice the two core protective concepts.
Right, what we're calling the dual shields. They're named right up front in the briefing topic.
Yeah.
Earth's gravity and Earth's magnetic field.
Yeah, and that's the part that really stood out to me.
How so?
Well, most casual explainers, they focus almost entirely on the magnetic field.
Of course, because it's the flashy dynamic shield. It's visual.
Exactly. But the inclusion of gravity here as an equally fundamental component in this high-speed brief, that feels like the first major intellectual nugget we can extract.
It absolutely is.
But how does gravity even work as a solar defense mechanism? I mean, most people just think of it as the thing holding us on the ground. Why would a briefing on a solar threat treat it as being just as important as the magnetic field?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the source material implies a kind of hierarchy of stability. Gravity is the invisible foundation.
Okay.
It's not just about holding on to the atmosphere, though that's part of it. It's the mechanism that stabilizes the entire planetary system against all the external pressures of space.
Oh, it's more foundational.
Think of it this way. Gravity is what holds the massive molten iron core in place. Without that immense gravitational force, or if that core material wasn't held in a dense, stable sphere, the entire fluid dynamic system that generates our magnetic field,
The geodynamo.
the geodynamo, yeah, it would just cease to function effectively. It would fall apart.
So gravity is less of an active shield and more like the planetary engineering requirement for the active shield to even exist. It's the constant, non-negotiable prerequisite.
Precisely. And what's more, gravity ensures our dense atmosphere stays thick enough to create the ionosphere. That layer helps conduct energy and shape the outer layers of the magnetosphere.
I see.
So the briefing notes treat gravity as fundamental because, simply put, the magnetic field can't operate without the massive, stable structure that gravity provides. If you remove gravity, you lose your atmosphere, you destabilize the core, and your magnetic shield just dissipates.
It's the primary defense against total planetary disintegration.
You got it.
Wow, that completely reframes the whole discussion. So gravity is the foundational long-term defense, which makes the active shield possible.
Right.
And speaking of the active shield, let's pivot to that magnetic field. This is where the cinematic instructions get really specific about defining the threat and the response. This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, the requirements here are purely visual, but they are driven entirely by physics. We need to analyze the three required visual concepts, starting with the source of the problem.
Okay.
The briefing mandates visuals showing solar wind particles. To understand the defense, you first have to understand the enemy.
Makes sense.
And the solar wind is not. It's not a gentle breeze. It's a constant supersonic stream of high-energy plasma.
Protons, electrons.
Protons, electrons, other charged particles, all ejected from the sun's scorching corona. If these particles were to hit Earth unimpeded, they would strip away our atmosphere. It would render the surface sterilized, certainly unprotected from radiation.
So the visual of solar wind particles, it serves as the immediate definition of the catastrophic threat we face 247. It's the visual shorthand for this is why we need a defense system.
Exactly. And the countermeasure is defined by the very next visual requirement,
Right.
magnetosphere effects. You can't just talk about magnetism, right? You have to show the physical mechanism of deflection. The magnetosphere is that vast, teardrop-shaped magnetic bubble created by Earth's core dynamics,
Which is held in place by gravity.
which is held in place by gravity,
Yeah.
and it extends tens of thousands of miles out into space.
And so the required visuals need to show what that invisible bubble does. How does it actually deflect plasma?
Well, it operates on the principle that charged particles can't easily cross magnetic field lines, not unless they have an overwhelming amount of energy.
Okay.
So when the fast-moving solar wind slams into this magnetic bubble, the magnetosphere, the particles are essentially trapped or diverted around the planet, following the curves of the magnetic field.
So the visuals have to convey this huge invisible force field acting like a shield.
A shield that bends this destructive torrent of solar plasma harmlessly around our planet. It's our protective cocoon.
And that high-stakes context, threat versus shield, is perfect for a cinematic briefing. But the instruction set demands one final high-impact visual. Something that connects all this abstract physics to something beautiful and relatable. It calls for aurora shots.
This is the high-impact payoff. The aurora is the proof of concept, but in living color. It's the visible evidence that the shield is not only working, but that it's actively managing the threat.
So the solar wind isn't perfectly deflected then?
No, not perfectly. Some particles are funneled down along the magnetic field lines, right toward the north and south poles.
And when they hit our atmosphere?
When those supercharged particles hit the gases in our atmosphere, mostly oxygen and nitrogen at high altitudes, they excite the atoms. They cause them to emit light.
So you're turning destructive energy into light.
This transformation of destructive kinetic energy into beautiful light is the ultimate validation of our defense system. It takes the threat, manages it using magnetism, which is itself underpinned by gravity, and turns the residual energy into a stunning, safe light show.
It's the visible signature of a successful planetary defense system. What stands out to me is how the creators of this briefing are forced to synthesize these three distinct elements: gravity as the foundation, magnetism as the active deflector, and the solar wind as the constant threat into a single rapid narrative. When you look at the source requirements as a blueprint for efficient knowledge transfer, what you see is a deliberate choice. A choice to prioritize fundamental physics over complex detail.
That's the essence of the learning experience here. The source requirements, brief as they are, they provide a clear blueprint for understanding the foundational concepts of our planetary protection.
Right.
They show us that for rapid consumption, the core lesson has to be this. Solar defense relies on this essential, stable duo gravity and magnetism working together to handle the persistent threat of the solar wind.
With the aurora as the visual confirmation of success.
The visual confirmation of success. So what does this all mean for you, the learner? It means you now understand the fundamental chain of defense. It's not just a field, it's an entire system where gravity maintains the environment necessary for the dynamic magnetic field to exist. And that field, in turn, diverts the high-energy plasma that would otherwise destroy life on Earth.
These are high-impact nuggets. They're distilled for maximum learning efficiency.
Exactly.
And just like that, we have extracted the foundational components of Earth's solar defense from, of all things, a set of production notes. Efficiency accomplished by analyzing the structure of prioritization.
But here's the final provocative thought to leave you with, and it builds directly on the source material's demand for speed and precision.
Okay, let's hear it.
Since the briefing notes demand an exact script and quick transitions, focusing only on these high-impact visual elements, how much crucial, complex information? How much has to be omitted?
Like what?
Like the specific nuanced way Earth's gravity dictates the movement of conductive fluid in the core to even maintain the magnetic field. The briefing gives you the core truth, but the challenge for you, the intellectually curious, is to always identify that necessary trade-off.
The trade-off between the speed of delivery and the depth of understanding.
Exactly.
Something to mull over next time you catch a video short about the vast forces shaping our existence. We appreciate you joining us for this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.